Hello and welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be talking about some book recommendations for middle grade books. So, as you guys have probably noticed if you've been watching the channel, I've been doing the middle grade March readathon, which I did read my last book. I did finish that on Monday. And I've actually just continued reading more middle grade books that I own. It's actually nice seeing the owned pile of middle grade books that I have like dwindle down because I've been reading them. So I am in the middle of two other ones right now. But I decided for today's video, I'll just make like a quick little recommendation video of some other middle grade books that you could pick up that fit the prompts in case you're struggling with any of them. And or if you finish them and you're just looking for more recommendations because you want to read other stuff, or maybe you just want to give middle grade a try for the first time, who knows. So yeah, I've got a couple of things here, so let's go ahead and let's jump into them. So the first, if I remember correctly, and like the nice thing with some of these recommendations is that they can fit across like multiple different prompts, just because of the crossover between some of the prompts. So I'll let you guys know if it has any of those. But first up we have is What About Will by Ellen Hopkins. This one can fit the siblings prompt or the name in the title prompt. But this follows two brothers in a modern day setting. One is 16, 17, and the other one is like 12-ish. And you're going through the struggle of the older brother who was injured in a football game, and he becomes addicted to his pain medicine, and he starts, going out doing bad things, getting involved with the wrong people. And the younger brother is like, what happened to you, Will? What's going on? Like, where did my brother go, kind of thing. It has a very bittersweet ending, but a very realistic ending that I think is very important that some kids need to see, because there are kids who go through what these boys are going through. And I think it's very important that kids see other perspectives on life and how things don't always end with the biggest happily ever after, and that sometimes someone else's good ending may seem bad to you, but it's like the best possible outcome for that particular family. It's very emotional. It's written in verse, so that does like make it go really quickly. But it is very heavy topic and everything, but again, a very important story that I think a lot of people should read. Next, we have Leilani of the Distant Sea by Erin Entrada Kelly. This one again fits the book and fits the name in the title prompt, as well as the BIPOC author prompt, because this is a Filipino author. It's a Filipino author, and this follows little Leilani as she goes on this journey to help her village. And you get a lot of Filipino folklore put into this, which is really great, because as the mother of a half Filipino child, it's nice learning about my daughter's other side of her culture and everything that she comes from, which is why I tend to I always keep an eye out for like Filipino related books. But it's really nice. It does have some gorgeous art throughout it, as you can see. But the story is basically about Leilani, who's trying to save her mother, who pricked her finger, and now she has fallen ill, while also dealing with a lot of the hate that goes on in her community because she is a girl. So very good story. I loved the Filipino folklore that was brought into it, because I was able to learn something new from it. So definitely worth checking out if you want to discover another culture that you have no insights into. The next one that I have on this list is one that I don't own anymore, but I have read it, and it is called Hollow Chest. It is by Britta Sandstorm. This one can fit the prompt for both siblings as well as historical fiction, as this follows two brothers in the aftermath of World War II. The older brother has returned from war. The younger brother is excited that his big brother, his hero, his everything is back, but big brother has he's struggling. He has come back from the war. He has been injured. He is struggling to find his place in the world again. He is dealing with PTSD, and you end up seeing the younger brother kind of like go through the motions of seeing what it's like seeing his brother not return the way, essentially as the way that he had left. He came back a different person, and then he ends up meeting other veterans who have come back from the war and what they are going through. So it's a very emotional story, but a very important one. I don't read a lot of historical fiction for middle grade. This one I actually picked up because I thought it had been like a spooky, scary story about like a wolf or whatever. And there is like this wolf figure throughout the story, but it's not in like the scary, spooky sort of way. It's more in the realistic, the wolf is eating people kind of situation. It's very interesting how the author uses the wolf in the storyline. But again, very good historical fiction story. All right, the next one on this is actually a little series. I don't own the series, but I have been reading it through the library. But it is the Sinister Summer series by Kirsten White. The first book in the series is called Wretched Water Park, and this follows two siblings, well, technically three because they do have an older sibling, and if I remember correctly, the two that you follow are twins, fraternal twins, and basically it's summertime. Their parents have been like, hey, you guys are going to go spend time with this random family member who you guys have never met. And the first book takes place at a water park. It's a gothic themed water park, but they solve mysteries while they are on their little vacations in these different places. It very much gives a series of unfortunate events, which is kind of nice, just without all the way that the series of unfortunate events does it. It does have this kind of like fun little twist to it, but it does have like that darker, deeper gothic kind of tone to it. What I really like is the siblings, is how one sibling is very brave and reckless, and then the other one is very timid and cautious, but they complement each other so well. And I think the author does a really good job like showcasing how they complement each other. And then they do have their moments where they squabble with each other, but then they have their moments where they like come back together. And like I said, there is an older sibling as well who, as like the series has progressed, has started to take like more space in the story and like started to like kind of join them more, because, you know, she kind of starts out as like that cell phone addicted, I'm not paying attention to what my little siblings are doing kind of sister. So yeah, definitely a fun little series, and worth checking out. I loved it for like the little gothic tones that it had. Like honestly, the gothic water park was such an interesting idea. Then we have The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. This one fits the BIPOC category. And again, it follows Caribbean folklore, which this was my first introduction to Caribbean folklore. And I found that quite interesting. But you follow Corinne, who is trying to protect her home from this evil woman who appears. And Corinne ends up learning more about her own roots and where her mother comes from and what her overall connection is to the Jumbies. And it has its little spooky, scary moments and everything. But I definitely think for me, the biggest takeaway was like what I learned through the fictional story about the Caribbean folklore around Jumbies. So definitely a good one to pick out. Then we have, this was the hardest prompt to find any books for, but it was the prompt book on the cover. Like, I've read a fair amount of middle grade books. I have not realized how hard it is to find a cover with a book on it. But the first one I have is Night Books by J.A. White. This one actually has like a little library on the cover, which was, I had to scroll through so many books that I read to find a book on the cover. But this one it's a spooky horror book, but basically you follow a young boy who has to tell stories to an evil witch to keep her happy. And he ends up running out of books, and so he ends up having to make stories up. And it's spooky but whimsical at the same time. And Netflix actually did a live action version of it, and it was actually really good, honestly. So I recommend reading the book and then going and checking out the movie, because it was actually pretty fun. And then the other one that I used for this one as a recommendation, it's because I wanted to find at least a second book, and I ended up going with The Book of Three by Lloyd Alexander, the first in the Chronicles of Prydain. And it's because it says the word book, okay? Because like I said, this was the hardest prompt. Like, I've seen other people struggling with the historical fiction prompt, which I get because I don't read a lot of middle grade historical fiction. But this one was the hardest prompt. Finding a book on the cover, man, they don't put enough books on covers. But anyways, this one is the first in a 5-book series that most people are familiar with in terms of the Black Cauldron because Disney did a movie based on it. And in the book of 3, you follow Taryn, who is a pig herder who wants to be more than that. He wants to be a hero. He wants to save the world. He wants to do heroic things. And what ends up happening is somebody evil comes along and they start spreading their evilness throughout the land. And Taryn gets pulled into the middle of it. Like I said, if you've seen the movie The Black Cauldron, it is within the realm of this. It is a very condensed version of the entire series, to be quite honest. But this is the start of it. It is great. I think it's a great way to introduce kids into the epic fantasy genre because it is epic at a small scale, perfect for middle grade kids, and it honestly still holds up to this day because I actually read that one, I want to say maybe 2 years ago, and I enjoyed it. It was not one I read as a child. I read it as an adult, so yeah. But that's what I have for some quick little middle grade recommendations for you guys to check out if you guys are interested, if you're still looking for more books to fill prompts in, or if you just want to give middle grade a try for the first time. So hopefully something in here caught your guys' eye. If you've read anything, please let me know down in the bottom, which ones you've read. Let me know which ones of these caught your guys' eye, and if you want to try them out or anything, I'd love to hear that. And if you guys are taking part in Middle Grade March, how are you guys doing? And yeah, that's everything. So comment, subscribe, all those good things, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.